Hello! So today is going to be part 2 of my Booker long list review. It's Booker season, Booker season, Booker season, baby. Booker season, Booker season, Booker season, baby. Booker season, Booker season, Booker season, baby. So I was very upset when the Disco King was not wearing his blazer, and out of respect to the Disco King, because he is the king, I have decided to wear me blazer. Okay, so much love, my Disco Dreamer. This is because you're awesome. I'm just going to tell you right now that I am having a very, 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 very bad time with this long list. Not that anything... well, actually, there are quite a few novels on this long list that I consider utter trash. Like, I would burn them. I'd burn them and I'd punch the author in the face. No, I'm joking. I wouldn't burn books. That's stupid. No, but I'm finding some books on this list really, really, really bad. I cannot stand them. Like 1-star garbage. And everything else, apart from 2, maybe 3, but everything else is like mid. Like pure mid. It's like 3 stars. It's all right. Or 2, 3 stars kind of thing. I'm very low on energy. I've had a very busy week that's just gone by. I'm going to try and do my best to do the reviews of these books properly. But if I get too tired, I'm just going to go, do you know what? I'm not going to tell you about the book. I'm not going to tell you what I liked or disliked. I'm just going to give you an overview. But fingers crossed, I can make it through and do this properly. And let's kick things off with Wandering Stars. Wandering Stars is the sequel to a novel called There, which I have not read. I have no idea whether having read There would have improved my experience of this novel. But I'm going to let you know right now, I had a good time with this novel. There's lots of things to really enjoy within it, lots of things to think about, and yeah, it's good. But maybe the second half would have been better for me if I had read There. In essence, Wandering Stars is a critique of America's treatment of native people. This novel is both a prequel and a sequel to There. The first section takes place in 1864, I think I'm right with that, and the second section takes place in 2018. So we have the events before There and the events after There. That's a lot of theirs. In the 1864 section, we follow a character called Star, who is a young survivor of a massacre. They are sent to a prison, and within that prison, they are forced to learn English. They are forced to adopt Christianity. They are then sent to a school where they are kind of like brutalized, and the sort of like the native culture that belongs to them is sort of beaten out of them. And this is the strongest section for me because it's a section where we really get an idea of what America was trying to do with native people. Their grand plan, which was to slowly eradicate the culture, their culture, by sort of, you know, introducing them slowly but surely with a fist to this kind of American dream and Christianity. And yeah, the first section, it moves at such a pace. It just goes. We follow a few characters. It keeps building. I really enjoyed the first section. And it really hits home. What's really interesting is a generation later, Star's son is then sent to the same school where he undergoes the exact same process his father did. Star's son, who's called Charles, ends up finding solace and friendship with a character called Opal Viola, and together they dream of escaping. We then jump to 2018 as Opal Viola Victoria Bearshield, which I think is her full name, is sort of struggling to keep her family together after the near-fatal shooting of her son, Orville. Orville ends up becoming obsessed with researching school shootings around the country, and he also becomes hooked on pain meds. Orville's younger brother, Lonnie, is suffering with PTSD as he starts cutting himself and starts introducing himself to blood rituals. And then Opal starts experimenting with these different types of ceremonies and taking different types of drugs as she sort of seeks to find a spiritual way to heal her family. So what did I like and what didn't I like? What I liked. I really liked how well balanced this novel was. I felt like all characters got real equal footing all the way through. I really like that the novel doesn't pull any punches when it comes to representation of native people in America, both in the past and in the present. I felt it dealt with those things really, really well, letting us know the pure facts of the matter, whilst at the same time being very thoughtful in its exploration of character. The scenes and moments we explore in this novel, they just feel really, really human, which just adds to a very layered approach to society and native people's representation within modern society. Now, I haven't read the first novel, as I've already mentioned, but I really like the structure of this one. I think as far as sequels go, the idea of having this book be both a prequel and a sequel is a really smart idea. It is giving the reader just a much richer idea of native people in America. I think this might change for each reader, or it might change on whether you have seen the first book or not, but I absolutely loved the first section of this book. I was so in with the writing style, the pace, the way it moves, the information I was getting, my connection to character, but also my connection to sort of the lineage of what was happening. That first section for me was absolutely brilliant. And yeah, I'll get on to my dislikes with the second section. What didn't I like? The 2018 sections, they're just a lot looser than everything else that comes before it. And for me, I didn't mind the shift that took place, but I just didn't enjoy it anywhere near as much. And as said, I think maybe I would have enjoyed this more if I'd had a whole entire other book to get to know these characters, to understand where they came from, and to then really feel the kind of aftermath of the shooting, the aftermath of everything that had happened. However, yeah, I don't have that info, so I'm just stuck with this second section that just didn't quite feel like it gave me enough. And I felt like I was spending a lot of time with these characters and things could have just been kicked into gear a lot more. Also, nothing in the second section surprised me narratively. Again, it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just something that I didn't enjoy. I wanted a lot more from that second section. I wanted to be surprised more. The ideas of sort of like addiction and displacement all felt like I had read them thousands of times before, and I just wanted something a bit different. I thought this book, based on the first half, was so good. I wanted that second section to bring something to me with these characters that I didn't know, that kind of felt unique and felt urgent and felt like now, and it didn't. It really, really didn't. And the final thing I didn't like is I felt like the ending was good. It kind of summed everything up. Beautiful, poetic kind of final little sort of diary entry sort of moment that we get with one of our characters at the very end. But I feel like there's a third book coming. And I hate when you read a sequel and you just go, oh, they're just sort of like, it just feels like this story is not done with this family. This journey is not done. And I don't know, I just left it going, okay, well, I'll wait for the third one for things to kind of get wrapped up. And I just don't like that feeling. Overall, I really enjoyed Wandering Stars, and I am pretty confident that my enjoyment would be greatly improved if I had read There. However, I'm just going to base this book on its own merits, and I'm going to go with, yeah, I thought it was very good, mainly on the strength of the first section. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars out of 5. Next up, we have Wild Houses. This novel is based around themes of desperation, abandoned dreams, and secrets. It's set in a small town in the west of Ireland, and on this particular weekend that this novel is set, it's like one of the busiest and biggest weekends of the year, as lots of tourists come flocking in. I can't remember what they come flocking in for now, but they're all arriving for something. It's not a cheese festival, but it could be something like that. But it's very, very busy. In essence, what we have is two feuding families. We have this Killian English and this family called Sketch and Gabe, I think their name is. I'm trying to remember these off the top of my head. But we have these sort of two families that are sort of feuding. One used to be a drug dealer, stopped being a drug dealer, and now he owes Sketch and Gabe money, and in retaliation to get the money, they steal his brother. Once they've stolen his brother, they go to this reclusive character called Dev, who is their cousin, and they basically just walk all over him. Now, Dev is a really big guy, big in stature, but very, very gentle. He got bullied a lot when he was younger, and even though he was bigger and stronger than everyone around him, he just didn't have the mentality to stand up for himself. So he allows himself to be just walked all over by these cousins as they bring this strange boy round and just lock him up in his basement. We then have the character of Nikki, who is clearly smarter than everyone else around her. She is destined for something more than this very shitty small town can give her, but yet she is sort of hooked on to this sort of like the English family, and she sort of goes on a mission to get the brother back, and through that process we get insight into kind of like her growing up in this small town and her sort of trying to understand what her future is in this town and with this family, and that's kind of it plot wise, and everything just sort of keeps building and building as characters are getting closer and closer to trying to sort of achieve their goals. So what did I like and what didn't I like? What I liked, well, the plot and the story was engaging enough to keep me reading. I don't know whether I particularly liked it. In fact, I didn't, so I don't know why I even mention it, but it was engaging enough for me to not put the book down. I thought the writing was solid, especially for a debut novel, and the dialogue did feel authentic to each of the characters. And my final like is that the pacing is pretty decent. I felt like we were given enough time for the story to keep building, whilst also enough time to get into the characters' heads to kind of understand their desperation, and also like the crime thrillery aspects of it were given enough time to keep building. So yeah, I think the pace overall was decent. What didn't I like? Well, I just found this novel totally pointless. Just utterly pointless, especially for a novel that is on the Booker Longlist. It is advertised as a darkly funny drama, okay? That is how it's advertised. It is not that funny at all. At all, and it is not that dramatic at all. The crime story that takes place has been done hundreds of times before. So many times before. The literary sort of fictiony type elements of it are just so base level. Do you know, it's no depth to the characters whatsoever. It is, it's just, why? Why? Why is this novel on this list? Oh my god, there must have been, I don't know if you watched, but I did like a wheel picker thing to predict my sort of like what would be my long list, and I guarantee you there are 5 books on what I picked at random that I haven't read that will be better than this. It is a nothing book. Nothing. Now, trying to calm myself down a little bit, I didn't hate my reading experience with this like I did with Headshot, which we will get to, and Orbital. I hated my reading experience with those novels. Really hated it. I didn't hate my reading experience of this. In fact, I got through it quite quickly and I was like, okay, yeah, it moves at a pace. It was all right. What I hate about this novel is the fact that it's on this list. And I just don't get it. And I'm starting to really lose faith with the Booker Prize. I swear in the past there wasn't as many duds on the lists as there were. There's always been a few, but come on, what are they doing? What is this panel doing? Why have they picked these books that are shit? I'm going to give this novel 1.5 stars out of 5. Again, it's probably more like a 2. Like, just reading it not in the context of the Booker Longlist, I think I would give this book 2 stars out of 5, and I'd be like, yeah, it's all right. Like, it's all right. However, it is on the long list. And, you know, just as judges putting a book on the long list can sort of like, you know, bring books we don't know to life and give them a good chance, they can also negatively give a book a kind of higher standing that it deserves. And a lot of people are going to read it and be like, what? And I don't know if that does the author any favours. I'm certainly not going to read anything by this guy ever again. So there you go. And that's the Booker judges who have done that. The Booker judges have ensured that I will never read anything this guy writes ever again. So that's on them. That's their fault. Next up, we have Headshot. 8 teenage girls are competing in a boxing competition in Reno. Do you know what? No, I told you I might do it, and I'm going to do it. I can't do it. I can't talk about this novel. I can't. I'm not going to give you the blurb. Go look it up for yourself. I'm not going to do it. As I said, I hate doing these style videos because I just lose my steam. That's why I only do one book at a time. However, okay, this book is garbage. Absolute hot garbage. 0.5 stars out of 5. The first chapter, which is the first fight, so basically the novel, each sort of chapter is 2 different girls facing off in this boxing competition. And, you know, I read the first section and I was kind of like, oh, I like this. I like how it, you know, it sort of had a repetition to it, but I was like, oh, okay, but it's trying to mimic sort of like, you know, a boxing match. This is me boxing. You can see I've never boxed a day in my life, but it has that sort of like, boxing matches are very repetitive, don't they? The movements, the sequences, the way they move. And I was like, nice. I like what you've done here. The writing is almost matching that of a boxing match. How clever. Well done. But I was like, you know, but obviously I'm 5 pages in and I'm already bored of this repetition. There is absolutely no way on earth, no way anyone would want to do this for an entire novel, right? Right? But no. That's this novel. It just repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats, and every time I felt like I was connecting to a bit of character, we would switch and repeat and repeat and repeat. All of the stuff I liked, this sort of jumping into the future, this jumping into the past, this understanding of like family pressure and how it's building, so many things that I was like, yes! And it is absolutely shat all over by the fact that it just repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats. And it's just, oh my God, it was mind-numbingly, I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand it. I gave it 1 star out of 5 in my notes, but I think no, it's 0.5. It's up there with Orbital. It's absolute garbage. I can't understand how it's made the list. And honestly, I don't know. And I love experimental fiction. I love stuff that's really tricky. I think me and maybe Alyssa, I think we are the only people who liked Held. Not that it's that experimental, but I think we're the only 2 people I know on BookTube who liked Held. And I don't know. It's terrible. 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 And last but no means least, we have Stoneyard Devotional. A woman leaves her city life and marriage to return to her childhood home. She retreats to a small religious community. Although she doesn't believe in God or even the prayers that these nuns, which she's sort of in this little retreaty place and there's nuns all around her and there's a church and they go to it. It's not called a church in the book. At the start of the book they say it's called something else. I can't remember it because I'm thick as shit. But anyway, even though she doesn't believe in the sort of that prayers and God, she finds herself sort of adapting to the lifestyle of the nuns, taking prayer when they do, and sort of fitting in with their community and their beliefs. As she's adapting to this new lifestyle, it becomes really reflective. There's a lot of mice in this novel as well, and I can't be bothered to get into that, but there's kind of, and also COVID does happen at the same time that this novel is set. But as she's adapting to this lifestyle, she becomes very, very, very reflective. And the death of her mother had a huge impact on her life. And we end up going back to, there's a nun who visits, who is bringing the remains of another nun with her back. And she obviously gets delayed because of COVID and it's hard to get back to where they're living. And it turns out the nun that returns is someone who she bullied along with her class and the entire community when she was younger. I thought all those sections were fascinating. But it's just a very ploddy, reflective novel, and I think a lot of people have said this and I just wholeheartedly agree. At first I was like, here we go again with this novel. I really was. And I read this novel very slowly because last week I was working on a show for the whole week and it was very, very long days, and I really was only able to read like 10 to 15 pages a day. But there was something in the pace in which I read this novel that really, really worked for me, because I was a bit like, oh no, this is a very plotty novel. But eventually I just really got into the style of it. And because it's quite fragmented, because it's quite chopped up and we get these little moments, these little reflections, it so perfectly worked for the pace I decided to read this novel at. Now, normally I like to whip my way through novels, but I would suggest that this, because of how reflective and contemplative this novel is, yeah, I would say it doesn't, you shouldn't rush it. You should take your time with it and allow the pace of the novel to be the pace that you sort of take it in and think about it. Sorry for that ramble, let's get back on track. But of course, as the novel builds, our nameless protagonist is confronted with these questions of like, can one truly be good? And can one truly be given forgiveness for the acts of the past? What did I like? I thought the writing was really fluid and nuanced, and yes, it's really reflective, and yes, the pace is quite slow, but it does pick up as the novel goes along, and yeah, I just really enjoyed kind of like settling in and sort of reflecting with this character. I also really engaged with that idea of forgiveness, especially for the acts of a child and how much we can hang on to them, but yet to others those moments didn't even register. But how for us it was so important, we felt like that person must be holding that against us for the rest of their lives. They must hate us. And actually, compared to their other experiences and what they've been through, it didn't even register at all to them. And there's little moments where we explore that, and I thought they just made me think a lot, and I really enjoyed that. And I just really enjoyed this book's ability to sort of connect with me on a sort of this sort of like universal emotional level. I think it's able to tap in to these thoughts and feelings that we all experience. I think if anyone's lived a life, let's say past 30 years, let's say that, there's something in this book for you. There is something for you to think about, and there is something that it is engaging with. Whether it gives you the answers or not is entirely depends on you and the questions you're exploring through this novel. But I do feel like, yeah, it is able to universally approach these things whilst kind of allowing space within its pages for you to engage on them in a very idiosyncratic way. And I just thought that was really good. What didn't I like? Well, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you'll know that I am a narrative guy. I like novels that are very long, like 1,000 pages, and that can be very ploddy and very reflective and really take their time. But I also like a little bit of plot. I like a little bit of narrative to sort of push things along, to give momentum to those ideas, to give momentum to those reflections. And this novel's just very light in those areas. It's not trying to be a novel like that at all. I think it's very evident from the start what kind of novel we're getting, but I can't escape the fact that I don't enjoy novels that are just that. I need a little something else, and that was definitely pulling this book back for me. It's just a bit too gentle, and I wanted a few more punches thrown in there, if that makes sense. But yeah, so I had a very good time with this novel. I thought it was very good. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars out of 5. So there you go. I am up to date with the Booker Longlist. There are obviously 2 books left for me to read. That is the Rachel Kushner book, which I'm forgetting the name of now. Oh no! But the Rachel Kushner book and Playground. Those are the 2 books that are left to read, but they have not been released yet. And even though I've requested with NetGalley and different publishers and sort of things, I've requested to get like arcs of them and stuff like that. They've just ignored me. I've decided I'm gonna stop. I have sent so KD Books, absolute legend, and Ben Reads Good, absolute legend. When I did a video saying how do you get sent these books, how do you do these things, they both messaged me privately and sent me details of how to do it, and they were so nice taking their time to do it. And I was a bit like, cool, I'm going to follow everything you've said. It would be lovely to get sent some books to review. I was a bit like, and I've got a fair few subscribers who are all amazing, so let's just go for it. And nothing. NetGalley said I haven't got as much of a presence. I don't have any presence, apparently, according to NetGalley. I have no presence, therefore they won't send me the book. That's actually verbatim. They said I had no presence. I've got no presence, everybody. And I've sent requests out to, I think I've sent about 50 requests out now to different publishing houses and stuff, and have not even got a reply from any of them. Not one single one. Which is very sad for me. It does get you down a bit. You're a bit like, I must be shit. So let's band together. Let's pick a publishing house. Let's all email them and be like, send Roro Reads a book because he's feeling a bit sad. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Again, have you read any of the books that I've just reviewed? Apologies, as I mentioned a million times, I don't like doing videos like this, all put together. I get very erratic and sort of ramble, and they're just not good, and I find it very hard to stay on target. I prefer doing one book at a time, but yeah, obviously this year it was not meant to be. I've just been too busy with work, so I've had to push them all together. So I do apologise for things like Headshot and stuff that I've just not given the time to. And normally I like to be as fair as possible. I like to tell you about a book, tell you what it's got within it, what it's trying to do, and then tell you how much I hated it, but allowing you to go, but even though you hated it, Andy, I think I would like it because of what it's got going. And I haven't even given the book that kind of justice. I don't think it deserves that kind of justice. I don't think these books deserve your time, but still, I try to be a bit more fairer than I have been in this video. You know, I might be answering why publishing houses don't send me books, but I think the more books they don't send me, the more bitter I'll get, because I love being bitter, and the more I'll just be harsher when it comes to being harsh on books. And then if I get really bitter, I'll just stop doing this. Way! Anyway, back on track again. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you're enjoying what you might be reading. I hope you are well and you are having a nice summer so far. And yeah, I really do appreciate it if you have watched all the way through this absolute rambling mess. You're amazing. And I will see you on the next one. Bye!